But important thing is that Nagpur society is so dear, and I mean, you have all given me so much love. And medico legal, as you all know, is a passion. So I'm very happy, and slides and voice is all good.
Yes, yes, all good.
Yeah, okay, all right. So thank you again for inviting me to discuss something different. Last time we discussed managing police, we discussed fighting litigations, we discussed out of court settlement, we discussed COVID and medico legal issues, and you all wanted some clarifications on issues regarding tubectomy. That also we discussed. Today, we are going to discuss something very different. Again, the approach is very practical. In between, I would wait and want few of you to, if you want to click photographs, because those slides will be important slides. And at the end, I'll be very happy to, solve all your queries and questions. I pray to Lord Ganesha to sail me through this presentation. Friends, we are medico-legally of the people, by the people, for the people, and I completely and totally believe that together we shall. Everybody stands for their own professional colleagues, and we should stand for our own professional colleagues. Nothing wrong in that. People who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do. And this is so much true about your society. You have done so many pioneering things. The amazing video which I saw just now, the idea of having webinars where you have one speaker go on for unlimited amount of time and impart all the different, these are things which have changed the world. In the near future, everybody is going to follow this Nagpur, if I may say so. So for the Marathi people, they'll understand Mulshi pattern. There was a movie. In 12th, we were told about Latur pattern and study according to Latur pattern to get into medicine. But this is Nagpur pattern. And Nagpur has set a new trend which everybody will follow.
Wow, sir.
So
Thank you.
thank you so much for allowing me to discuss. These are very important issues. And the issues which we are going to discuss today. So there was a time when people were fearing maternal deaths. Then we got over it. We had a lot of courts coming in with different kinds of guidelines how to investigate. Then came a period of PCPNDT where everybody got scared because of the typical implementation. Then there were so many decisions which helped us. Now we are back with MTP and POXO Act because these two together are a deadly combination. So there are so many things which we need to know. So what is the scheme of the things today is we will understand our MTP Act. I know. So when we used to do our undergraduation or post-graduation, we used to understand about Shantilal Shah Commission, so on and so forth. And this was asked in Gynec Vivas and especially a very important part of post-graduation. So with the basic knowledge that we have, we are going to go ahead and see what are the gray areas in the Act. Also, what are the amendments required? So at the end, the new amended bill which is tabled, I will also discuss that. Now, there are few slides which I have labeled as till then. These till then slides are most important because till the time you get the gray areas removed, till the time you get the amendments in place, what is to be done. So these till then slides will be very important for us. I have taken 3-4 real life cases, so that will give us an insight into what is to be done. Plus a step-by-step compliance. I feel if you do this step-by-step compliance, you will not miss anything and you will work perfectly according to the MTP Act. We will also see the POXO Act, but only with respect to what gynecologists should know. So I'm not going to go into sections and punishments and the new punishments which have come up now in the rules, but what we are supposed to know. Definitely, we are going to discuss what is to be done if you have an anomalous baby and the pregnancy is more than 20 weeks, because that is also, a lot of cases we are seeing now. And as I told you, the MTP amendment bill in the end. So friends, Indian Penal Code, IPC, if you see sections 312 to 316, it says that causing miscarriage is a crime. That means if you perform an abortion or if you help a lady perform an abortion, that becomes a crime with imprisonment and fine. That is what IPC says. Now, MTP Act has to be seen as an umbrella which protects us against this IPC sections which say that abortion is a crime. So what I'm trying to tell you is only and only if you follow the MTP Act properly, these sections will not be applied against you. corollary is, if you do not follow the MTP Act properly, you are liable under sections 312 to 316 of IPC. And as I told you last time, always be fearful of three words, CNB, which is cognizable offense and non-bailable offense, and all of these are cognizable non-bailable offenses. Moral of the story, contemplating or doing an MTP, you have to follow what is there in the Act. So an MTP Act is adhered to completely, it offers protection, I told you, but it is conditioned to every requirement which is to be followed. So you cannot do away with some requirements of the Act, you have to completely and totally follow them. This Act is made up of Act rules and regulations. Why I have, I'm discussing this, I'll also tell you. So the Act mentions when and where, so under what circumstances, and when, where, at which place MTP can be done. The rules mention who can do an MTP. So what are the criteria, OBGYN, RMP, whatever. And regulations tell you about maintenance of records. Now, why this line is there? This line is extremely important. This line is important because if you contravene the Act and rules, there can be criminal proceedings against you. Please note down, Act and rules, if you contravene, there are criminal proceedings against you from the IPC sections I told you. But suppose if you have not maintained the records, suppose you have not filled the register properly, suppose you have not filled the indication properly, in that case you only have 1,000 rupees fine. So here, contrary to PCPNDT Act, where PCPNDT has even same sections applied to you or criminal proceedings against you if you do not fill the records, but in MTP, if you do not fill the records properly, it is fine. So Act rules is 2 to 7 years imprisonment because it is CNB, cognizable non-bailable offense. But if you do not follow the regulations, then it is only 1,000 rupees fine. What is the exception to this? The exception is consent. So consent for MTP, which we will discuss in details, that forms a part of record. It comes in regulations, but that consent, if you have not taken, then you will be prosecuted criminally. So please remember this very clearly. Now, when an abortion can be termed as legal, only and only if it is done by somebody who is competent, authorized to do it, a place is approved, conditions and gestations and all. So again, you have to follow everything in the Act to see that you do not fall prey or you are not made liable to those sections in IPC which I mentioned. Now we'll go through step by step what problems we face and what amendments we need in the Act, and then what are we supposed to do in everyday practice. Now section 3 says that pregnancy may be terminated by a RMP if length of the pregnancy is less than 12 weeks. Then the opinion of one RMP is needed. If the length of the pregnancy is between 13 to 20 weeks, then the opinion given by 2 registered medical practitioners is needed. Now point number 1, make it very clear that it is only the opinion of 2 people which is needed. 2 people need not be there when the abortion is done, or when misoprostol or whatever you do. So it is not necessary that more than 2 registered medical practitioners should be together to terminate the pregnancy. This is a myth. We get phone calls so many times that the other person who has signed should also be there at the time of abortion. No, it is only to form the opinion, only to obtain the signature. Now, if this signature is to be obtained, where all you need to take this signature? You have to take the signature on form I, name, degree, address and signature, everything is there. You have to take a signature on MTP register. You have to take a signature on OPD and IPD paper where the opinion is formed. So if you form an opinion on OPD paper, more than 12 weeks, you have to take 2 RMP signature. If you have formed the opinion on IPD paper, more than 12 weeks, 2. Less than 12 weeks, 1. So it is only for signature purposes. That person's liability is only for formation of opinion. So if there's a problem, if the opinion which is formed is challenged, then the person who has done signature comes into the purview or is liable. Meaning whereby if there is a problem with the procedure of MTP infection, etc., then the person giving the signature is not liable. Am I very clear? So liability will come only and only if there is a question about the opinion which is formed. We'll go to another area. Now, this is a lot of IT people will come and they'll tell you that All the indications that are mentioned there, we don't fall in any of the indications. So we don't want this pregnancy because we are recently married, both of us are working, or I need to go abroad, etc., etc. Now, please understand, there cannot be an MTP on demand. Even if the patient wants, the patient has to fit in one of those 5 indications. If the patient is not fitting in those indications, do not do MTP. Even the court will follow this. So there is a landmark case of MTP in Supreme Court where the Supreme Court said that the MTP Act does not confer or recognize any right on a person to perform an abortion. Even the pregnant woman cannot terminate her pregnancy. There is no question of abortion on demand, and MTP, according to MTP Act, is not the rule. It is only an exception, meaning whereby your patient has to fit in one of those 5 criteria. As on today, there is no MTP on demand. So what are the amendments that we want in the act? That there should be MTP on demand, because every time it may not be grave injury to the mother, every time the baby may not be abnormal, every time it may not be a contraceptive failure, every time it may not be a rape. So MTP on demand is required in the amendment. Till then, since the amendment is not there, till then what do? Use the indications in the act and know the indications carefully. So as on today, you have to understand the indications and use them properly. And in the next few slides, we are going to see which indication is to be put when. Now there is an indication which says the continuation of pregnancy would involve the risk to the life of pregnant woman or grave injury to her physical or mental health. Now the problem is, what constitutes grave injury to the physical or mental health is not given in the act. It is a matter of speculation and debate. So I may think somebody who's chronic hypertensive and with renal problems, if she has a pregnancy, then continuation of pregnancy would be problem to her physical health. Now who will give that certificate? Should I give? Should a physician give? Should somebody who's a renal nephrologist give? So there is a matter of speculation and debate. So what is the required amendment? That there should be clear-cut guidelines and conditions for deciding what is grave injury to the physical or mental health of pregnant woman. This is the amendment which we require. Now what we do till then? Today there is no amendment. So what do we do till then? Till then you have to take a proper history of the patient, examine the patient, put all the investigations on paper, proper documentation, and as a RMP you can form an opinion. Now, with all this to back your opinion, so I was giving you an example of chronic hypertension. If I have her BP recordings, if I have her ECG, if I have her 2D echo, if I have her renal function test, and if I've examined her, she has edema, she has breathlessness, I have documented all that, and then I have formed an opinion that continuation of this pregnancy is going to be grave, it can produce grave injury to her physical health, then I can, give this opinion. So till then, history, examination, investigation, documentation, and forming an opinion if you want to use that indication for MTP. Then there is an indication which says there is a substantial risk if the child were born, it would suffer from such physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. Now, this is related to the anomalies of the baby. Now, what problems we have? The fetal anomalies which are supposed to be there inside have to be grave. Now, suppose I have a patient who has previously one child and they are poor couple and they have a small VSD, or the baby has a CT, EV or some anomaly which can be corrected, but they don't even have the money to correct that anomaly. Now, can I put this indication as if the child were born, child would suffer? No. Because the risk to the child is not so much. It is not a lethal anomaly. So risk physical, mental is not assessed. It is not given in the act. Second problem which we face nowadays is that we do serum markers, we do NT scan, etc. for the baby. Now, please be very sure that all these are screening tests. The only tests which are of definitive diagnosis are amniocentesis or CVS, which directly give you a report. Your serum markers, NT scan give you a risk, and depending on the risk, you cannot put that indication as grave injury to the baby. Social economic conditions of parents we don't consider. In the example I gave you, so if the baby has cleft lip palate, they already have a previous pregnancy, they are poor and they do want to abort, we cannot use that indication. plus the quality of life of the malformed child, it's very difficult to assess. And this case, everybody knows, Nikita Mehta's case in High Court, and Dr. Nikhil Datar fought tooth and nail for this. It even went to Supreme Court. Now, what the court said, that there is no categorical opinion of experts which says that these are serious handicaps, and they said that this is akin to mercy killing. So the problem again is, what I'm trying to tell you is, an amendment is required which gives us guidelines for deciding which anomalies to terminate and which anomalies not to terminate. Now, more than 20 weeks, I am going to put some time on that, because there is now a SOP from Family Welfare Department, which has recently come in January 2020. So I am going to discuss. So more than 20 weeks, you can take help of that SOP. We will help you to have that kind of abortion. But if it is less than 20 weeks, we still have a problem, because less than 20 weeks and the baby has an anomaly which is not lethal, then we cannot put that indication. So what we do till then? Till then, more than 20 weeks, we follow the SOP. Less than 20 weeks, you document ultrasound findings, you document serum markers, and again, I'm telling you, amniocentesis or chorion villus sampling will actually give you the diagnosis. NT scans, serum markers, etc., they are screening tests. They only give you risk. And if you want to use that indication number 2, lethal anomaly to the baby, then sonography, amniocentesis, CVS, these are more helpful for you. Then the next is, if it is because of rape, the anguish caused by such pregnancy is presumed to constitute grave injury. So rape pregnancies should be terminated. Now the issue again here comes is, because a lot of people call us and say that, should I inform the police? Now this is one girl who's come to me who's saying that there was rape. Should I inform the police? Should I inform the magistrate? And in lot of medical legal discussions, a lot of medical legal people will tell you that if you terminate a pregnancy which is because of rape and do not save the products of conception, because products of conception are very important evidence, you are destroying the evidence which is punishable under section 201 of IPC. So once there is rape, we are in a dilemma. What is to be done? What is the solution? So this is the important slide. Please note that section 39 of CRPC tells us about which diseases we are supposed to notify to police, and rape is not one of them. I will repeat. Section 39 of CRPC tells us which diseases are to be told to the police, and rape is not one of them. So if a lady more than 18 years does not wish to complain, you have no right to inform. A lady who's more than 18 years, even if there is rape and she says, I do not want to complain, you need not go and tell the police. Only thing is, for abundant caution, which is not there in MTP Act, you take this separate consent that this pregnancy is caused by rape and I do not want to complain. It is not there in the Act. But for abundant caution, if you take this consent and tomorrow she goes and complains and there is an issue against the doctor, this one consent saves you. So let us be very clear. Any lady more than 18 years, if she says that there was rape and this pregnancy is because of rape, you can do MTP, take that consent that she doesn't want to complain. If she wants to complain, definitely she should go and complain. But as a doctor, it is not your job, because rape is not included under notifiable offenses. If you want to do MTP for that lady, definitely do. Now, suppose she is not reporting as rape, then what do you write as indication? So for all rape patients who are not complaining to the police, you write the indication as in order to prevent grave injury to the physical or mental health of pregnant women. Meaning whereby you write indication number 2. Do not write the indication as rape when the lady is not complaining. If the lady complains, there is a FIR, you can write rape and then do an MTP. So now there are a lot of age issues with rape, and we will finish this just now. So why these issues are? Because different acts mention different things. Now, definition of rape in section 375 IPC, it tells us that it is a man is supposed to commit rape on a woman, and there are different ages given. So if you see 16 years of age for marriage, and then there are state amendments. So in Manipur, it is 14 and 13. In general, so a lot of states will have a lot of amendments. So without confusing, this is what we used to discuss earlier, that if the lady is less than 16 years, it is rape unless they are married. And they have to prove that they are married. So you complain to the police. In Manipur, it was 14 years. If more than 18 years, rape only if alleged. So I told you, if the lady is more than 18 years and she says that she wants to complain, then only. And unsound mind. So somebody is, mad, somebody is of unsound mind, insane, it is rape without consent. Now, there were a lot of discussions, queries. Now, everything is put to rest. Ata, we call in Marathi, ek ghav don tukde. Absolute clarity. Any lady less than 18 pregnant is raped. I will repeat. Any lady less than 18 pregnant is rape. It comes under POXO Act and you have to mandatorily report. So all the age related issues are done with. You have a lady sitting in front of you who is pregnant, whose age is less than 18 years. The first thing you do is inform police. We will go through it, how to inform and what is to be done. We'll definitely go through it. So there is an amendment required which clarifies the issue as for rape as an indication, and also it should mention that less than 18 years you have to inform the POXO Act. Because the problem, I'll tell you where we face. So a lot of people, a lot of doctors will call me and say that MTP says maintain confidentiality. MTP is saying that you maintain confidentiality. Now I have this 17-year-old who has come with a father and mother, so they are guardian. And MTP says that take the signature of guardian and do MTP. Now the problem is, if you do MTP for a 17-year-old and not inform police, you are contravening the POXO Act. So now this is a blanket statement that would less than 18 years, you inform police very clearly under the POXO Act, which we'll see in the next few slides. So till then, more than 18 years and there is alleged history of rape, the patient decides. And if the patient doesn't want to complain, do not complain. Just take a consent that this is because of rape and she doesn't want to complain. And use indication number 2, which is grave injury to the mental and physical health of pregnant woman. If she complains, you have a copy of FIR, then put rape as an indication. Less than 18 years, you inform the police as per POXO Act. For whatever comes, you have to inform the police. Now, pregnancy occurs as a result of failure of any device of method. So we are discussing about the next indication, which is failure of contraception. Now, as on today, failure of contraception as an indication is available only for married people. So I understand that, lot of youngsters will use contraception and it may fail. But the Act today says that use this indication only for married. So indication for married can be contraceptive failure. Now, a lot of people will ask, because our medical, I am the member of PMC MTP committee, our medical officers go, but they are trained medical officers. At places, the medical officers ask, why have you done a MTP for failure of contraception at 18 weeks? That's okay. All indications work till 20 weeks. So that medical officer has no business in asking. It is not true that you cannot use this indication for more than 12 weeks because they will say you have done sex selection and abortion. It is not true. The MTP Act very clearly says that you do an abortion using all 5 indications which work till 20 weeks. So you can use this. For an unmarried patient, you cannot use failure of contraception. So for an unmarried patient, it has to be in order to prevent grave injury to the physical and mental health, which is criteria number 2. So for a married female, contraceptive failure works. For an unmarried female, contraceptive failure cannot be an indication for MTP. So there is an amendment which is required, that this should be removed, and it is a part of the amendment bill which I will talk to you. Gestation period calculation. This is again a big issue. Age of viability is 20, 24 or 28 weeks. More importantly, gestational age. What will you believe? LMP, USG, Act is silent. And what happens if there is discrepancy in LMP and USG dating? Then there is a big problem. Their amendment needed is for guidelines for calculating gestational age and clarifications on discrepancies. So for example, you have a sonography report which mentions biparietal diameter, femur length, humerus length, so on and so forth. All of them are 19 plus 4, 19 plus 3. One is 20 plus 1. One of the parameters is 20 plus 1. Now what do you do? So these discrepancies need to be very clearly clarified in the amendments. Now what do we do till then? Till the amendment comes. Very important. If the lady has regular periods, use her LMP. Because the person, this is not given in the Act. All these come out of our discussion with authorities, our discussion with medical officers. Nothing of this is given in any textbook of Act. This is what we derive. Use LMP for regular periods and believe her LMP if she has not conceived in lactational amenorrhea, or if she is not conceived after oral contraceptive pills, so on and so forth. Read your USG report very carefully. There can be BPD, femur length, AC, HC, and then they give a, they mean it up and they'll say 19 plus 3, but maybe 2 or 3 parameters. Now, if 3 parameters out of 5 are going beyond 20, be very careful, because that is a catch-22 situation where the person coming for inspection is going to have lot of radars on for that. As much as possible, avoid discrepancy. If present, if the discrepancy is present, now this is the most important line from this slide. If there is a discrepancy in LMP and sonography, use the one which is higher. You suppose your ultrasound LMP is, we are facing now a case where by LMP it was coming to be 18 weeks and some 6 days, and when we did ultrasound, that person did ultrasound 23 weeks. So whatever is higher you follow, because that is the one which decides, whether it is more than 20 or no. And if it is more than 20, we have a way to abort. So don't be in a rush to do all these things. Take your time. Now this is the consent form that we all know. Now this is the consent form. If you see the lower part, it mentions to be filled in by the guardian where the woman is mentally ill or minor. Now there are a lot of issues about this consent. So more than 18 years, obviously the patient can give her own consent. Unsound mind or minor, these are children brought to us for MTP from asylums or from homes where they are stored. So these, so majority of the times they go to government hospitals, but so many times they come to private practitioners also. Now the problem is there are different types of guardians available. So a natural guardian is a mother, father, or a related person. Guardian ad litem is a guardian given by court, or next friend is guardian given by court. Now the issue is, what if the person accompanying the minor is not related to the minor? This so many times happens. Durcha kaka hai. He is some uncle from a long relationship, or hum log bolte muh bola bhai hai. So what is to be done in that situation? Point number 2, legally husband's consent is also not required for MTP. But for abundant caution, as I always say, take it. So this is the problem number 3 in the similar situation, that how do you know the correct age of the patient? Do you ask for birth certificate? Do you ask for school leaving certificate? Do you do an X-ray, Aadhaar card? Earlier, what we used to do from medical legal forum, we used to say that ask the patient to write in her own handwriting her name, age, marital status, and that reason for termination of pregnancy, so on and so forth. But these handwritten documents are challenged in court if there is a problem. There is an issue that the person or the opposite lawyer will say that this was done under coercion and force, and they can be fabricated. So there is a lot of problem in this. Also, affidavits. Affidavit will work only in civil court. Now, please remember, there cannot be an affidavit is something which you write upon affirmation and you take a swear that this is right according to you. But affidavits work only in civil courts. Your affidavit has no value in criminal courts. And as I told you, contravention of MTP Act lands you up in a criminal court. There are criminal proceedings. So affidavit will not work. So what are the amendments required? Clarification on age, clarification on consent, clarification on guardian, black and white about husband's signature, and which identity proof to be taken. Now these are the amendments which are required. Now what is to be done till then? Till then, avoid unrelated guardian. So if somebody says that I am the guardian of this minor and please do her MTP, you avoid that case. You have to inform the police again. The POXO thing will come later, but avoid. Oh, some insane person comes with an unrelated guardian, avoid that case. Husband's signature, please take for abundant caution, because later on if there's a divorce case and fight, etc., etc. See, if you have not taken husband's consent, nothing happens. The case will go to court. It will be registered against you. You will go to the court and you will come out scot-free, no problem. But if you have taken his signature, it will end, your harassment will end at police station level. It will not go to the court. So for abundant caution, take husband's signature. Inform police if you suspect foul play. Avoid being too helpful. This is what I tell all my doctor colleagues. I call it Mother Teresa syndrome. With all humility, nothing against that lady. But the Mother Teresa syndrome comes in. She is very poor. She's pregnant. They are crying. They cried, they sat outside my OPD for such a long time. They followed me up for 2 weeks, so on and so forth. Please avoid Mother Teresa syndrome. First, protect yourself and then do whatever you want to do for that lady. In the present times, also, although the act does not say, but in my opinion, I am very clear, you take license or Aadhaar card, because these females will lie to you. They will tell you alternative names, and then it becomes very complicated to manage police. I know later on you will be okay, everything will go according to you, but the harassment and the issue of going to police stations and the stress, everything can be avoided if you take Aadhaar card or license. Medical abortion. So many people are giving medical abortion nowadays. Now, medical abortions are going to increase with this corona and COVID also, because nobody wants to operate. Now, it is allowed only till 7 weeks of gestation. Please note. Now, there are combi packs which are available after 7 weeks of gestation, but MTP Act does not allow this. So it has to go as a trial through ethics committee. Then and then only you can use this. MTP Act very clearly says use of medical abortion up to 49 days of amenorrhea only. Now, please be very sure what is to be used. You have to use mifepristone and misoprostol, only an RMP. Now, I have written here RMP separately because I'll come to it in the next slide. All rules, regulations have to be followed for this. A RMP can prescribe in his or her own clinic. So, MTP has to be done. Surgical MTP has to be done in a place which is registered under the Act. But if I have a clinic and I'm sitting in the clinic, that clinic is not registered, I can still prescribe medical abortion pills, provided that I have a certificate from an owner of an approved place and who agrees that in case of a problem or an emergency, that person will manage. So this we all do. RMP now. RMP has a different meaning in Indian Medical Council Act and a different meaning in MTP Act. Again, this is very important. Please be very sure to whom you are giving that certificate. RMP, according to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, is a person who has experience or training in OBGYN. So only a person who has experience or training in OBGYN can prescribe MTP pills. An MBBS person, a skin person, an ophthalmologist, orthopedic surgeon, if they do not have the requisite experience or training in gynec, they cannot prescribe. A BAMS, BHMS person cannot prescribe. So if you are giving that certificate, so I mentioned that this certificate has to be given by a recognized MTP center to a person who's prescribing. Do not give certificate to a person who does not come under RMP. So somebody who's a BMS or some BHMS person, if you give and there is a problem, then you also come under a soup. Why did you give a certificate to somebody who was not RMP? So please be very sure about this. So what are the requirement amendments in the Act? They are to be about medical abortion tablets taken outside. There are so many people over the counter they are giving, left, right and center they are giving, and then the patient comes to us as incomplete abortion. Now, if you write on paper incomplete abortion because of drugs given by so and so, and it is checked by the MTP person, then he can file a complaint against the person who has given drugs. What happens if it comes as a true drug failure? Important thing, very important, is requirements of backup and emergencies have to be kept in mind while giving. So any person who is giving certificate has to see that his hospital or recognized MTP center is available for backup emergencies. If that person starts bleeding at night, goes in shock, has sepsis, you need to manage the patient. So be extremely and very careful. So what is to be done till then? An RMP OBGYN only should prescribe pills. Patient counseling regarding where to go in case of emergency is a must, and there are definite responsibilities of MTP center giving such certificates. Lot of people give certificates to their friends saying that, okay, he's a friend and she's a friend. Please do not do that. Again, I am telling you for the second time, keep away from Mother Teresa syndrome. Don't fall into that trick. Okay, then the issue of gestational age. Abortion is legal only up to 24 weeks in UK, but there are exceptions. If it is done to save the mother's life, if extreme fetal abnormality and grave risk of physical or mental injury, it can be done at any time. In different countries, if you see, in Netherlands, it's 21 weeks, 24 in Britain, Canada, there are no laws restricting regulation of abortion. US, it is up to 26 weeks. But India, we are stuck up with 20 weeks. Is it so? No. There is section 5 of MTP Act, which says that if a patient is exceeding 20 weeks, then without the opinion of 2 registered medical practitioners, you can terminate the pregnancy for an opinion formed in good faith and to save the life of the pregnant woman. What I'm trying to tell you here is, if you have a patient who's 24 weeks, severe PIH with anasarca, pulmonary edema and abnormal coagulopathy, you can do this. This section 5 comes into play. You can terminate the pregnancy. 2 registered medical practitioners are not required, and all the investigation, everything says if you do not terminate the pregnancy, the patient is going to die, right? Now understand, this provision is only to save the life of the pregnant woman and as an emergency provision. So this provision cannot work for multiple fetal anomalies at 22 or 23 weeks. There is a different SOP for that, which we'll discuss. But do not know, a lot of phone calls we get, people say 24 weeks say severe PIH, HELP, coagulopathy. Are terminate, you have this section, no problem. But it is only to save the life of the pregnant woman. So it cannot be used for fetal anomalies. Now, this is what is most important now. Again, more than 20 weeks, lot of people were going to high courts and putting writ petitions to allow the woman to terminate an abnormal fetus. So the High Court, issued a circular to the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Family Welfare, saying that, you tell us, formulate some mechanism. So this mechanism has come on 18th January 2020, where SOP has been formulated. So what that SOP says, that there are medical boards established in state. So there definitely be a medical board in Nagpur. There is a medical board in Pune, which is BJ Medical College. So every place there is a medical board. Once a writ petition is made to High Court, the High Court will refer the matter to the medical boards. The medical boards are supposed to give their confidential report, and which forms the basis for the decision from the High Court. Now, this is done only for 2 situations. Either it is rape or late diagnosed anomalies. So I told you, this is section 5, which can be used to save the life of a pregnant woman if she has chronic hypertension, severe PIH, HELP, DIC, so on and so forth. And this is what is something which is going to help us in rape and late diagnosed anomalies. Moral of the story, somebody who is 22 or 23 weeks pregnant and hale and hearty, and the pregnancy is not because of rape and it is not because of late diagnosed anomalies, she has to continue the pregnancy. Okay, I will make this very clear that a lot of patients, they are half read. Doctors do not read this properly, so they think that everybody who's more than 20 weeks we can use this. No, it is only for rape and late diagnosed anomalies. That SOP also gives us methods of termination, how to maintain documentation, and in Annexure 1 it has given a list of fetal anomalies. So it has become very easy. If those anomalies are there, we can point them out to the medical board and things become easy. The good thing is we can work this out really fast, and in maximum 10 working days we can get this over with.
Yeah.
So we'll go through few cases.
Interrupt one for a minute.
Sure.
Participants, I request you not to post the questions right now. First of all, the chat box gets displayed on the screen and disturbs the screen and disturbs others as well. And also, if you post the questions now, it's likely that we'll miss all the important questions in the huge number of messages that are there in the chat box. So please post the questions. After the presentation, we'll take all the questions, but don't post right now. It is disturbing the presenter. Thank you, sir. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Don't worry, all the people who have logged in, till your last question is solved, I am not going anywhere. So don't worry at all. Okay, so we have discussed that section 5 will help us with respect to if there is a serious problem in the mother, and there is a SOP which can be used for rape and late diagnosed anomalies. So do not worry now. Somebody who has 22 or 23 weeks with multiple anomalies, do not show leak and terminate. Do not show that patient came in active labor. Stop all that. You have a mechanism which works, and it works in 10 working days, which is perfectly legal. We will go through few cases because these cases will tell us, what kind of problems we face. These are true life cases which have actually happened in and around Pune. So you will know them. A 32-year-old woman seeks gynecologist treatment for infertility by IVF and then gets pregnant with quadruplets. Now 3 embryos are reduced. Now I'll tell you what happened here. the person who was reducing the embryos used to fill C form, Form 1 and send MTP reports to the MTP committee. Now, luckily what happened was the then MTP committee did not understand this, so they did not pay much attention. But when we discussed in a conference, we came to know that this is something which is happening and which need not happen. Because does selective reduction cause encroachment of MTP? No. Selective reduction of fetuses does not, or embryos does not come under MTP Act because of the simple reason that there the pregnancy continues. After the selective reduction, the dead embryos would be absorbed in the mother's body and they would not be expelled from the uterus. And abortion is expulsion of products of conception from the uterus through the cervix to the outside world. That is not happening. So please do not keep informing the MTP committee. See, otherwise, it is a big problem, because where do you do these reductions? You do it in a sonography or a fetal medicine clinic. Is that clinic recognized under MTP Act? No. There are a lot of problems. So please understand that selective reductions do not form a part of MTP. So you need not fill any form other than your routine consents. Now, this is second problem that we face. A malformation scan was done between 18 to 20 weeks of pregnancy. It reveals an anomaly. Now, the anomaly is not lethal. It is correctable anomaly. So obviously, and it is less than 20 weeks, so no problem. But the anomaly is a correctable anomaly. But the couple insists on termination of pregnancy because they do not have the money even to correct the anomaly. Can we go ahead and terminate such pregnancies? Yes, you can go ahead. But do not write their fetal indication. Write grave injury to the mental health of pregnant woman or contraceptive failure. Why? Because if you read the indication, it says that the anomaly has to be lethal for the baby. And here the anomaly is not lethal. So maybe a small VSD, maybe CTEV, maybe correctable anomalies, or maybe a constitutionally small baby. So all these things, correctable, non-lethal anomaly, do not write the indication as the fetal indication, but write grave injury to the mental health of pregnant woman. Or you can write contraceptive failure, because I already said she's a married woman, less than 20 weeks. You can use contraceptive failure up to 20 weeks, no problem at all. Case number 3, a lady comes alone to the clinic for seeking MTP services. She's more than 18 years old. I know. So what happens is, when we do this panel discussion with a lot of feminist groups who would, completely put their hands down and say, no, follow the act. And even if she's come alone, you do the MTP, so on. And so she's more than 18 years old. Can you go ahead and terminate such pregnancy? Now, the problem is, okay, with respect to medical abortion, she is more than 18 years. You can give medical abortion, take her consent, no problem. See that pregnancy is less than 7 weeks. Fill all the forms. But if you try and do a surgical abortion for somebody who's more than 18 years, just because the act does not say anything, there is a problem, because she may land up with complications like perforation or need an explorative laparotomy, blood transfusion. And what if later on her husband, who's unaware, comes and says that, this pregnancy was not, I am not responsible, somebody else was responsible, then we have a big problem. So what is to be done? For abundant caution, medical abortion, yes, with consent you give, but whenever you are contemplating a surgical abortion and anesthesia, your anesthesia consent, surgical abortion consent, and presence of relative is a must. Do away. Keep that Mother Teresa syndrome, wanting to help, away. Because if there is a problem, then it can escalate to greater levels. A couple approaches. Now, this is very important. This has happened n number of times. So be very careful with respect to such kind of cases. A couple approaches clinic for MTP services. They say we are husband and wife. All procedures are duly followed as per the law requirement. Now, the law does not say that you take a Aadhaar card or license. What did we say? You take a Aadhaar card or license for abundant caution. So here Aadhaar card or license was not taken because the act does not say. Few months later, a constable comes inquiring and summons the doctor to the police station. Here it is learned that the couple was unmarried, and now the lady has accused the male partner of rape, keeping relations with false promise of marriage, and the doctor is also implicated. Now we have a problem, because although you have followed everything, the names were changed, addresses were changed, you did not take a Aadhaar card, you did not take license. They said they are married and you believed they were married. You even used contraceptive failure as an indication because they said they are married. Now we have some issue to worry about. Now more issues to worry about. She further accuses that her partner and the doctor have forcefully conducted MTP, and the signature which was taken on the consent form was taken under force and coercion. Without her consent and signature was obtained under threat. Now our problems increase because according to the act, you have to take consent and it has to be a free consent. Our problems increase. Now our problems increase further because we believed everything that the patient said, and the person accompanying said that she is more than 18. It is also learned that the lady is a minor. That means the consent is invalid. Now, how can the doctor protect? Can he be arrested? Obviously. Now we have a huge problem. We have a big problem. That is why I said there are some things in the act, and act is silent on so many things. Until the time these amendments are brought in, please take Aadhaar card or license. Please see to it that be a little careful about MTP. Now, what is required now is there will be a lot of inquiry about MTP registration, competency of doctor, consent, why identity was not taken properly, depositions. We have to work for anticipatory bail. The doctor may be arrested and we may have to work for regular bail, and because it's CNB, cognizable non-bailable offense. So although we used to discuss from medical legal fora, experience now tells us that proper documentation in the form of license. And so what did I say here? That everything was followed. All procedures are duly followed as per law, but they become or turn out to be inadequate. Hence, please use take the license or Aadhaar card or proper identity. I am not here to scare you all. I am just trying to tell you what can come out. This case is really scary because when it came to me, I was too scared. I didn't know what to do. But step by step, we got anticipatory bail. We saw to it that we proved that the patient had falsified her name, so on and so forth. And because we had, completely with the MTP Act, the doctor was saved. But the case is still going on. At least he is not arrested. Case will go on. It will take a long time. Judiciary is not very fast. Friends, I don't want you to be with your authorities like in the above picture. I want you and your authorities to be pally with each other, happily. If you follow everything nicely done, then you are pally with your authorities and they are also there to help you. Finally, they are also human. So if I say I am a MTP committee member, I don't want POJS members or other people to get scared. No, I am there to help them. Together we work for the benefit of the society and of our patients. So what I have prepared here in next 3-4 slides is step-by-step compliance. So I have prepared a step-by-step compliance for MTP, a step-by-step compliance for PCPNDT. I will forward the PCPNDT step-by-step compliance for ART and PCPNDT. All those we form tables and step-by-step compliance. I will forward it to Dr. Vaidehi madam and she can probably circulate later. Today we will see MTP compliance. Now, if you follow this compliance, so this starts with the patient entering your clinic or entering your hospital and ends with you performing an MTP. So if you follow this step-by-step compliance, nothing will be missed and you will cover everything properly. So patient comes in. Now the issue is we all know very clearly that MTP is equal to confidentiality. So moral of the story is nowhere other than in the MTP register the patient's name should come. Now, a lot of people have softwares in their OPD where the moment patient enters, that patient's name is entered. So what is our first thing? The person sitting in the OPD will ask what is the purpose of the visit. And if it is MTP, if the purpose of the visit is MTP, then the OPD paper or the software will not have that person's name. Because a lot of questions happen because doctors will ask, the patient comes to me, she sits in front of me, I examine and later I come to know that, she wants MTP. And by then the software has already generated OPD paper. Now what I should do? So find the purpose of the visit. If it is MTP, then step by step what we need to do. So first is you will find the purpose of the visit. Is it MTP? Then the doctor will examine, first confirm pregnancy because she may not be pregnant. How do you do that? Clinical examination, urine pregnancy test, ultrasound, your choice. Confirm pregnancy. Point number 2, is your center registered under MTP Act? If yes, up to 12 weeks or 13 to 20 weeks. If no, send the patient to registered center. I will urge. So there are two kinds of people whom I always urge. First is supari surgeons who run around doing MTPs in centers without knowing whether that center is MTP registered. Second are smart surgeons, but they are not so smart, because I have inspected a place which is run in Pune for last 30 years, where every month there are 28 to 29 incomplete abortions. So why so many incomplete or inevitable abortions, and all of them go only to one center? Means they are doing MTP but writing incomplete abortion, and they are not taking MTP registration. So don't do all that. No, in the long run, this does not help you. So if your center is not registered, send the patient to a registered center. If you want to prescribe MTP pills, you have to have the certificate from a registered center or you have to be an RMP, then you can give abortion pills. So confirm pregnancy, confirm whether your center is MTP recognized center. Next point, OPD case paper, IPD case paper, no name of patient. That is what I said, that once the patient comes in, you ask, because this is a lot of multi-speciality corporate hospital will say, by the time the patient comes, already her name is generated. No, ask the patient. If it is MTP, there should not be any name. Only MTP number. History, clinical examination is to be there on paper. Certification, signatures of 2 RMPs if gestational age is more than 12 weeks. Now, one very important point. Wherever you write that patient is for MTP, whether it is on OPD paper or whether it is on IPD paper, you have to take the signature of second RMP if she is more than 12 weeks. So please see where you have written, where all you have written. Sometimes you write on OPD, sometimes you write on IPD, sometimes you write on both the places. So in that case, you take signature. Assessment of duration of pregnancy. Now this we already said, LMP, clinical examination. Now, if in case there is a discrepancy, then use the higher value. That also I told you. Now, what are the situations, and should ultrasound be done before every MTP? No. Ultrasound need not be done before every MTP. It is not mandatory. In fact, ultrasound is not mandatory at all according to the MTP Act. But there are certain situations where you have to do ultrasound. Now, what are those situations? These are situations where not doing an ultrasound will create more problems. So doubt about the presence of pregnancy, doubt about duration of pregnancy because the patient is conceived in lactational amenorrhea, or she is obese patient, or unsure of dates, localizing coexisting IUCD, diagnosing coexisting mass, diagnosis of congenital uterine anomalies, diagnosis of abnormal pregnancy, ectopic, misocious, previous ectopic, previous multiple DNEs, curetages, vesicular mole, follow-up of medical abortion. Now, these are the group of patients where you should do an ultrasound, before MTP. Ultrasound need not be done in each and every patient before MTP. Now, this slide, I think so many times I have put, but I don't know. And there are, MTP committee members whom I have spoken to personally also. These are the conditions which do not fall under MTP. Missed abortions, blighted ovum, incomplete abortions, intrauterine fetal death, vesicular moles, and ectopic pregnancy. These do not fall under MTP. So please do not fill C form, form 1 registers for all this. These are a separate diagnosis. These are conditions in itself. In any of these, there is no live gestation. So these do not fall under MTPs very clearly. Then what do you do? Now you have examined the patient. You have seen that you have taken, the signatures which are required. Now you have to do investigation. So what are the investigations you need to do? Hemoglobin, RH blood group, and urine sugar protein. So these are the only investigations which need to be done before an MTP. Now, if you suspect a problem in your clinical examination, if you hear a murmur, or if you think the patient is too anemic, or she requires other investigations, very well you do it. These are basic investigations that you do. So you've done the paperwork, you've examined the patient, confirmed the pregnancy, investigated. Now you have to put the indication. That is why we discussed all the indications in detail. For a married patient, any situation you can put contraceptive failure. So there is a non-lethal anomaly in the baby, no problem. Baby's this thing cannot be used. Use contraceptive failure for a married woman. For unmarried, never use contraceptive failure. Use indication number 2, grave injury to the physical and mental health of pregnant female. For rape, also use that. Unless the person complains of rape and you have FIR, then you can put rape. only and only if you have done a chorion villus sampling or an amniocentesis and the anomaly is proven, or a sonography which shows gross anomalies which are lethal, then you use the anomaly in the baby option for termination of pregnancy. Certification, which we've already said. How do you ascertain the age of the patient? All these we used to tell that beforehand, but for abundant caution, I already told you what you need to do is take the license or the Aadhaar card from the patient. Consent on routine consent form is not acceptable. Please understand, for an MTPC, there are two types of consent, statutory and non-statutory consent. Statutory consents means consents which are given in the act. For example, PCPNDT Act, MTP Act, Human Organ Transplantation Act, or for example, your ART bill which mentions, surrogacy agreement and all ART consents. So statutory consents are consents which are there in the act. They have to be taken. Now you can take 10,000 other consents, no problem, but this has to be done. Form C, it is mandatory to take a written consent of patient on C form. If the patient is a major, more than 18 years, patient's consent, minor or lunatic, parent or guardian's consent, legally husband's consent is not necessary. One may do so for abundant caution. So after this, you have taken consent of the patient. When do you involve police? If the lady is less than 18 years, you have to involve the police. And if rape is alleged, more than 18 years, lady says that there was rape and I want to complain, then you involve the police, no problem. Otherwise, police involvement is not necessary. What are the records? Obviously, admission register, form 3, C form, form 1, form 2. This you all do. So I'm not much worried what is to be filled in those records. So I put more stress on that. All the records are to be maintained for 5 years, and monthly reporting should go to your either a civil surgeon or whoever is the head or corporation last week, last 30th, 31st, or by 1st, 2nd of the next month. Medical abortion. Now this is important. Whatever applies to surgical abortion applies to medical abortion. I already told you only a registered medical practitioner whose definition is different in the MTP Act means a person who has training in OBGYN can prescribe, purchase drugs from an authorized distributor. Now the tip is, do not do a bulk purchase. Do not buy for an year. That will put radars to the person from drug licensing company who's coming for your inspection. So, there, and do not fall prey to, tactics which these companies sometimes do. So I was part of an investigation where misoprostol tablet, on 100 tablets, 500 tablets free. Now, who will do that? On 100 tablets, you cannot get 500 free. That means you are getting 100. The deal was the doctor will get 100 more free and 400 will be sold in grey market to be used for illegal abortion. But the bill mentions that doctor's name. Now, it is very difficult for us to, some doctor who is paid for 100 plus 500 scheme, and that also paid money in cash. So, you have to keep your copy of the purchase order with you. And a good suggestion is always pay by check. Do not pay cash, because then how much amount you have paid becomes very difficult. Maintain records of all drugs given to the patient, registered date of purchase, so on and so forth. Again, medical abortion records also to be kept for 5 years. Now, please be very sure that you take misoprostol, but you use it for other indications. For example, before hysteroscopy or induction of labor or PPH. Now, all those should be accountable. So, number of misoprostol tablets purchased, used, and whatever are left behind, this should form a good mathematical equation. Payment to be made by check at the time of arrival of stocks. Purchase in small quantities. Do not come and see. So it's a common sense. Even if you have say 100 crores of rupees, you don't go in by buying a plane and a helicopter and 10 houses. Buy one at a time. You don't want to come onto the radar of income tax guys. Similarly here, you don't want to come to the radar of people who will come and inspect, especially from drug controller. So purchase in small quantities. Do not need a drug license to dispense drugs. Now, very important line is this. We do not need a drug license to dispense drugs to our patient, but we cannot sell drugs to us. So, for example, if I have the OPD paper, I have the consent and everything for a patient of medical abortion who's my patient, I can give. But if your friend is sending, okay, I will send a patient, don't do any paperwork, just give the tablets and, take the money. You cannot sell the drugs like that. You can only prescribe to your own patients. Ideally, this should be followed for all drugs. Now, once all this step by step is done, you have finished the paperwork, you have finished the consent, opinion is formed, investigations are done, you have properly used everything. Now take the patient for MTP, hand over the pills with instructions, maintain confidentiality. Now, where are the places where the patient's name can come other than the register is the discharge summary if the patient wants, and a letter to her employer for leave. So if she wants a letter saying that my MTP has been done and I want leave and a letter from you, you can so these are only the two places where the patient's name comes. Maintain confidentiality. Under what situation are you supposed to show everything? Admission register can be shown to the chief secretary of the government for a departmental enquiry, or a magistrate of first class ask, or a district judge, or somebody who's authorized by law. So people, medical officers who come to inspect, definitely they can see your MTP register. Now there is a small issue about PCPNDT people wanting to see your MTP register. But in the new rules, if you see rule 18A, in the new rules, if you go to subsection sub-rule 5, it says that a person who's inspecting your place for PCPNDT can ask for your MTP records because he wants to make sure that the MTP thing is running on well. Here in Pune, what we have done is we have separated the PCPNDT and the MTP team completely, and they report directly to the MOH. So that is how we have resolved this issue, but locally you also resolve. So keep your MTP thing separate and PCPNDT thing separate. MTP Act gives you protection, but important is you have to fill every requirement which is there in the Act. We need to work towards getting the amendments, but till then, whatever small solutions I could offer, I'll tell you. Second part is about the POXO Act, what every gynecologist should know. And this POXO Act, the number of queries, the number of questions, the number of phone calls that we are getting now, it has surpassed, even PCPNDT. So it is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. What is the background? We have to understand our role. It's a very comprehensive act, but we have to understand our role. We have to understand what is compulsory reporting, and we have to understand what is examination of victim under this act. Now, if you see these statistics, these are alarming statistics. 1 out of every 10 women reported some kind of child sexual abuse during childhood. 1 out of 4 girls is sexually abused before the age of 4. 35% are abused between the ages of 12 and 16. So these are alarming stats. 5 lakh children are forced into the trade, commercial sex worker trade every year. Now there are sections in Indian Penal Code which govern all this. So rape, kidnapping, molestation, sexual harassment. But the government thought that these are not enough for sexual abuse of, and they talk only about female children. And this is a gender neutral act. So it works for males and it works for females, both of them. It provides protection against sexual assault, harassment, and pornography. Now, very important, child according to this act is anybody who's less than 18 years, whether it is a male or a female. Now, male or female less than 18 years means that the consent for sexual intercourse or assault or whatever is 18 years. So please bear that in mind. There are a lot of offenses. I am not going to detail of this. Important part about this act also is that if somebody helps, abets, or somebody helps in performing these kind of offenses, then that person also is totally and completely punished. We will go through mandatory reporting. Now this is very important because any person, now the section 19 says any person who has apprehension that an offense under this act is committed or has knowledge that such act has committed should inform to the special juvenile police unit or local police. Apprehension, lot of pediatricians call me. They say there is a small girl who has come to me, she has scratches around her vulva because she fell down during playing. Or some boy is there who is swelling around his anal region. Now there is apprehension if these kinds of injuries are there, and you are not the person who should investigate. So inform. Now it is a big problem because the parents do not want to inform, the parents do not want to fall into the police issue. But trust me, you have to inform because there is apprehension. And if there is a girl sitting in front of you who's less than 18 and pregnant, you definitely have the knowledge that less than 18 years and pregnancy means the pregnancy is caused by rape, and you have to mandatorily inform. Now what happens is once you go and inform, then FIR is registered. So it's first information report which is registered. You tell all the information, they write it down in a FIR and you have to sign it. Now, I see practical problems coming in. So if the patient, what happens if you go to police station and you put in a FIR, your name comes, and once the police start investigating, the girl's side or even the person who has done the offense side will call you. Why did you go and report? Because police will tell doctor and doctor has complained. So your name comes on that and lot of problems. So very practical solution. If the patient is present in front of you, you go out quickly, inform the police and call the police there. If the police comes to your hospital with the patient present, they will make the patient's relative informant, and you can only give the information on your letterhead. So patient not present is a problem, because if the patient has gone away, you have to put it on your letterhead and go to the police station, then your name will come on FIR and we cannot do anything about it. Now every person has to inform. So if you have a patient whom you have sent for a sonography, the sonologist should also inform. So tell your sonologist, I am sending you a girl who's less than 18 years. She is pregnant. You will be doing her sonography. I am informing on my letterhead. You inform on your letterhead. So both of you should inform. This has happened in Pune, that this lady informed to the police, did an MTP, and then after 3 days, the police went to the sonologist saying that you have given a report where it was mentioned 16 years of age and 8 weeks pregnant. Why you have not informed? So every person, that's point number one. Point number two, even if you send the person to a government institute, suppose you say, I don't want to do, I will send to medical college. But since you know that such and such person exists, even then you have to inform. So you can say, I have sent the patient, but you have to inform. So information has to be given. Now, a lot of police do not know, this act. It is not there in, for the police who have studied earlier. So many of them will do not know. And if they refuse to take a complaint, you have to do a private complaint. You have to go through all this. So pray that no lady less than 18 years pregnant comes to your clinic. That is the only complete primary prevention for this. But if a lady comes, you have to go through all this. If the police are not taking complaint, you have to lodge a private complaint. What is a private complaint? Is a complaint lodged in a court of sessions or a special court under POCSO Act, where you have to write that you had approached the local police and the police has not done anything, or they are not ready to take your complaint. So this you have to do because the patient came to you. One very important thing, again, I will put it here, that if you have informed the police, also inform that you are doing an MTP, and also inform that if the police want the products of conception, they should give you a notice. So police give you a notice for products of conception. Then you are supposed to remove the products of conception, put them in normal saline. And if the police have not come, you can label the normal saline bottle and put it in fridge. Do not put the products of conception in formalin. If you put the products of conception in formalin, they cannot extract DNA. So put it in normal saline, put it in fridge where it can stay for 72 hours. After 72 hours, it is all spoiled. So you need to tell the police that they have to collect the products of conception within 72 hours of you doing MTP. More importantly, take acknowledgement of everything. So acknowledgement of information, acknowledgement of timing of MTP, acknowledgement of storing products of conception, acknowledgement that you have given the products of conception to the police. Failure to report commission of offense is punishable with imprisonment of 6 months or with fine of or both. It is irrespective of the will of the victim or parents or guardians. You have to inform police. The best way to do is ask them to wait in another room, call the police. Once the police come there, tell the police so that they make the relative as informant. I know there will be a lot of bitterness. I know there will be a lot of issues. Forget about that bitterness. Legally, you have to inform. Failure to record an offense is also punishable. So if the police do not record, that is also punishable. Now, if somebody is in charge of a hospital or a company, and if such kind of offense is, happens in that company and that person does not inform, it's 1 year imprisonment and fine. So we cannot escape informing. Your information should be done when the patient and the relatives are there with you. That is the best bet. Take acknowledgement for your information, take acknowledgement for products of conception, store them in normal saline, keep them in fridge for 72 hours, and hand them over to the police within that stipulated period of time. Now, very important is, so that is what, there will be some kind of issues, maybe with the relatives or for all the pediatricians and general practitioners, where they inform about these injuries occurring around the anal or the vaginal or the vulval areas. But nothing happens legally because there is no criminal or civil liability for giving information in good faith. So you have to give, it is mandatory. It's 6 months imprisonment. And even if after investigation, it turns out that the information was wrong or there's something else, let the police decide. You don't decide. That is most important. Medical examination of the victim. Now, there are a lot of changes which happened after criminal law, in Criminal Law Amendment Act after Nirbhaya, and especially lady registered medical practitioners have to know. And I'll tell you why. Now, Section 27 of the POCSO Act tells us about medical examination. Now, in case of a girl child, this examination has to be done by a lady doctor. Now, a lot of amendments have changed. Now, here the lady doctor has to be a registered medical practitioner. You cannot refuse saying that you are a skin doctor or you are a orthopedic or you are a rheumatologist or you are an anesthetist or you are ophthalmologist. You cannot refuse. If you are a lady registered medical practitioner, you are supposed to do that examination. So maybe I know you must be bored of me this second time, but sometime we will discuss about sexual victim examination in details. Medical examination in the presence of parents. This is point number 2. And if the parents or anybody of that child whom the child has confidence not available, then presence of a woman nominated by the head of the medical institution. So nominated by your hospital head. So you cannot escape this. You have to give medical emergency treatment and examine that child victim. Emergency medical care shall be rendered in such manner as to protect the privacy of the child. Presence of parent or guardian or any person in whom the child has trust and confidence has to be there. No medical practitioner, hospital or other medical facility center rendering emergency medical care to a child shall demand any legal or magisterial or other documentation. So here it is very important. You cannot say you get a police requisition, you get from magistrate. No, you are supposed to give emergency medical care and do everything for that child. Only prerequisite is presence of parent or guardian. And even if that person is not there, you can nominate one person, a lady from your hospital. So please, all females registered medical practitioners, be aware of all this and do not shy away, because there could be proceedings against you if you shy away from this. So what are the different medical treatments? I'll just not go into details. Treatments for cuts, treatment for STD exposure, treatment for HIV post-exposure prophylaxis, pregnancy emergency contraceptives, referral consultation for mental or psychological health. So all these constitutes. Interested people can call me or put a WhatsApp message. I'll send them annexure 1, annexure 2 about how to do this, what equipment you need to keep with you, and everything. So it's very elaborately given by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is there on the net, but I can also send you if you want. Any forensic evidence collected in the course of rendering emergency medical care must be collected in accordance with Section 27. Emergency medical care as well as the timing of medical examination has to be noted. So again, there are forms, lot of forms that you need to fill. POCSO Act is gender neutral. Any attempt also, is punishable. Mandatory reporting. So we cannot do away. Even if you have apprehensions, penalty for default in reporting, examination and treatment of victim has to be done. In short, we'll now see what are the amendments coming in the bill. Before we see these amendments, I will again make it very clear that this is a bill. It is not been passed. So do not spread the word that now the abortion has gone to 24 weeks and all. No, it is still a bill. We are still governed by the original MTP Act, which says upper limit is 20 weeks. But if there are anomalies or it is because of rape, we can definitely apply to High Court and get the MTP done for more than 20 weeks. Not for anything else. What are the amendments which are coming? Coming amendment says that the upper limit be increased from 20 to 24 weeks. Opinion of one registered medical practitioner for up to 20 weeks and 2 RMPs from 20 to 24 weeks. From 20 to 24 weeks for survivors of rape, victims of incest and other vulnerable women, MTP can be done. And no limit if the medical board accepts that there are anomalies which are lethal. For unmarried women, the bill seeks to relax the contraceptive failure condition so that it says any woman or her partner. So presently the act says any woman or her husband. So now that will be corrected in the amended bill. This amended bill is still not passed. So till then it is a bill and not an act. we have to follow all that we have discussed, TCA, which I always say totally, completely, and absolutely. Friends, before I finish, and I would want a lot of questions because we will solve them. This is a part of trivia which I found on the net and which is very good. You know, Nagpur has more literacy rate than Mumbai. As per the recent survey, Nagpur has a literacy rate of more than 92%, which is actually higher than the likes of Mumbai and Pune. Not only the urban settlement, but the rural region of Nagpur has a higher literacy rate than those of Mumbai and other significant cities. And the people whom I am talking to from Nagpur and all over India, our AMOX members, our Foxy members, my own POGS members are the best cream of the society, you know, with amazing aptitudes for so many things. And I'm so happy that second time I am allowed to, you know, talk in front of such august audience. So heartfelt gratitude, and it fills me with lot of pride that, you know, so many people have logged in to hear me. Thank you so much, Nagpur OBGYN Society, Vaidehi Madam. So much thanks, Amox, ICOG, Dr. Parag Sir, and all of them for providing points. And I am here till I solve all your questions. Thank you so